You know, it's interesting how things, I always believe, Sisney, we talk about this on the show, I always believe that there is a master script to life, and the things that you are presented with are part of the script, and however you proceed is the way you're supposed to proceed. And so, Oprah was going to be on the Live with Kelly and Ryan show, and I got this book, The Wisdom of Sundays, from her. From her office. And I laid down and I started reading it. I read almost the whole thing. And then I get to this one page, and there's this quote that strikes me. And the quote was, you are in control. The truth is, you are in control of only two things: how we prepare for what might happen and how we respond to what just happened. And for an overthinker, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
If you think of stuff through that lens, that's a great quote. And so when she came on the show, I read that quote, and she said, "Oh, it's Devon Franklin." I said, "Well, yeah, this guy's a genius." And here he is in the flesh. Devon Franklin is here.
Yo, I don't know about being a genius, but I'm grateful to be here, man.
Well, it's such a pleasure to meet you. And as I did my research about you, you've accomplished a lot in your career. You're a writer and a producer, and you're spiritual. What would you say your occupation is?
Well, I'm hoping my occupation is just being me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But my day-to-day job is producing. That is, basically how I keep the lights on. And then being an author, runs a close second. But I try to, mix it all in, because my goal is to, improve the lives of anyone that I'm coming in contact with through inspiration, hope, and faith. And so with the movies, that's what the movies are designed to do.
And give us some of the big movies, because there's a great list of them.
I just produced Miracles from Heaven with Jennifer Garner and Queen Latifah. I have The Star, which is the first faith-based animated movie.
Oh my gosh, Gina Rodriguez, I just talked
Gina
about her.
Rodriguez, yes. Gina, and Oprah's in that too. Tyler's in it. That comes out November 17th. When I was a studio executive, I worked on films like The Pursuit of Happiness, The Karate Kid, Heaven is for Real.
Wow.
So it was all designed to, make an impact and to use media to have a positive impact. So even though I have multiple things I do, they're all connected by that one through line.
Are you also a pastor?
No, I'm not a pastor. I preach.
I
preach. Yeah, my uncle would call me a bootleg preacher.
A bootleg preacher.
You're an amazing preacher.
Well, thank you.
And do you preach on a regular basis?
I preach on a regular basis all around the country.
So you'll do different places?
Yeah, but I don't have like a home church. My younger brother, Devon Franklin, is an actual pastor in Baltimore. He has a congregation. He has a church he's responsible to, so that he's a pastor by profession. But for me, I just go around the country, and whenever I get an invitation, I try to honor that and speak as much as I can.
Wow,
there's just an energy about Devon Franklin that I love. So this genius quote that simplifies, it's like I and a lot of people listening, it's like when I close my eyes at night and put my head on the pillow, 1,000 channels of voices start, and I try and slowly put them all to bed. And that's kind of what happens in every moment of my life. Like I'm just hearing a bunch of things are moving all at the same time. And then I looked at your quote, and I was like, you know what? If you live life like that, it kind of simplifies it, brings down anxiety, and allows you to really focus. Where'd that quote come from?
It came actually from my first book. My first book was called Produced by Faith, and it was all about how to enjoy real success without losing your true self. And Oprah read the book, and then she invited me to do an hour of Super Soul Sunday. So part of the book in the first chapter, I'm using the metaphor of being a movie. So the reader is looking at their life as a movie. And Produced by Faith is broken into two portions. One was development, the other was production. So in the very first chapter, I talk about this concept of how we can look at life. Because in the movie of life, I believe God is our director. And so I wrote that comment to say, listen, our job is one of two things. We have to prepare for what could happen, and then also handle our response. Because so often where we miss it is how we respond to what happens in life. Yep. And we allow, anger, frustration, bitterness, depression to be a response when it's like, listen, things that happen to us aren't always in our control.
Right.
God is the director. Why he allows certain things into the scenes of our movie, I don't necessarily know. I'm not God, but I can manage my response to what may happen. Whether good or bad. So that's where the concept came from, in helping the reader to look at their life as a movie and look at themselves as the hero of their story.
It's such a great lens to look at life, isn't it? So you know Oprah well.
Yes.
Have you had tequila with her?
See, here's the thing. I don't drink, so we haven't had tequila.
Well, tell her if she wants to have tequila, I'll have tequila with her.
Yes.
No, she just when I was talking about it, she lit up. Like I could tell she really has a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, you know her. I mean, first of all, Oprah. To know Oprah is just first of all incredible. She is truly one of the most dynamic, giving, generous people in the world.
Yeah.
Like, let me just give you an anecdote. So I'm putting together the Star, the animated film, a story of the first Christmas from the animals' point of view.
Nativity scene.
The nativity scene.
Story,
but now we're seeing it with how the animals may have seen it. So we were putting it together, and we were trying to figure out how do we elevate it. And so the thought was like, well, why don't we get Tyler and Oprah?
Perry
and so
Winfrey.
Tyler Perry, yes, and Oprah Winfrey. So I called up Tyler. I'm like, hey man, would you play a camel that the wise men ride in on? And I told him the concept, and he was like, all right, man, I'll do it. So then I'm like, okay, I was really nervous. I was like, but it would be awesome if we can get Oprah to play a camel too. So I reach out to her and say, here are my wares. Here's the movie. Would you play a camel? And she says, okay, Devon, for you, I'll play a camel.
You all do it.
And she did it. She did it. She had so much fun doing it. And when I went to her, she saw the movie a few weeks ago and loved it and said how incredible it was. And I just said, I don't even know how to thank you. She said, you just thank me. Stop it.
Yeah.
No more. You did it. All right. I wanted to do it. It's over. And for someone of her stature to be that connected to what people are doing, and for me personally, for her to just say, you know what, I'm going to bless this because of what you're doing, and I like what you're doing, it's just so humbling. And that's the person that she really is.
Well, and she did it for scale. I mean, she did it for scale, I hear. I know.
She did. No, we couldn't pay her nothing. I mean, the water was more expensive than what we paid her.
We are going to come back with Devon Franklin in just a second. Now, there's a book that Tanya is reading. She's very much into it. She's living her life by it. It's called The Wait. We'll come back to that in just a second. 102.7 Kiss FM. We've been talking with Devon Franklin. And he's got a lot of things. The Star, I can't wait for that to come out. The movie where it's animated. It's the story. It's the nativity story, essentially. It's Oprah and Tyler Perry and Gina Rodriguez all lending their voices. But Devon, it's like we were meant to be here today because not only did I read that quote from you and think this is how I want to live my life, but you also have written a book called The Wait. And you wrote this with your wife?
Yes. Yeah. My amazing wife, Megan Good.
And tell me, the premise of The Wait is what?
The premise of The Wait is it's basically Megan and I waited until marriage to consummate the marriage. So we waited
between
for
the two
marriage.
of you.
Between the two of us. So we were both waiting independently, and then when we got together, we waited together. And so the whole idea, it's a powerful practice to find the love of your life in the life you love.
And at what age did you meet her?
I met her at 32. I met her at 32.
And you were 32 when you met her.
Yes.
And you were saying it's a powerful thing.
Yes, because see, I mean, and this is my truth. And I know when I say this, people say, oh, you're crazy. So what happened was I grew up in the church, right? So we were always taught to wait, but never taught how to wait or why to wait.
Right.
So growing up, I didn't wait. I was, telling the people I was waiting, and I wasn't waiting. And when I graduated college, I was in a relationship, and I just felt like I was living two lives, one publicly, one personally. And I didn't like the disruption in my spirit from trying to live these two different lives. So I said, I have to be who I say I am. So I said, God, if you get me out of this relationship, I will wait until marriage.
So you were not a virgin then?
No, I was not a virgin then.
Okay.
No. So
then you restarted.
There we go. So we got out of the relationship and we restarted. That was around 23. Now I had no idea I was not going to get married until 33. So along the way, Megan and I meet, and she was waiting. And so when we got together and she thought, oh, wow, I didn't know if I was ever going to find a man that could wait or was waiting. And so when I was waiting and she was waiting, it was confirmation we were meant to be together.
Wow.
So we took what we learned about waiting and the value of delayed gratification, and we wrote the book, The Wait. And it's all about how to value delayed gratification and how to, begin to say, hey, patience is a powerful practice, because sometimes when we rush the process, especially in our personal lives, we end up with the bad end of the stick, which is sometimes the hurt and the pain that comes from somebody we thought was worthy of our body, and we realized ultimately they weren't. And so that's really the power of the wait and the practice of it.
And Tanya here. Well, Tanya, you tell Devon why you were drawn to the book.
I think in the beginning, you kind of talk about different situations in your life. And one thing that really struck me was you engage in the same relationships over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And that's something I've been struggling with for the past few years. I keep thinking my relationships are going to change, but I'm not changing anything about the way that these relationships are happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
And I think I've always been a little bit hesitant to make that 100% commitment. And the reading the book made me realize that I can't do it.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
recommitted, and I actually reached out. You talk about in the book about having like a support system, and I reached out to my local pastor, and I said I'm going to need help,
Yeah.
and I have a best friend of mine that's going to help be like my support system as well.
Wow.
But the book really it really talks about different things that I've gone through in my life, and why it's hurt me in the past, and it's really incredible. I mean,
Wow.
it really changed my life.
Wow. What I love about what you're saying is that you're beginning the healing process. And it takes a lot of courage to say, you know, I need to try something different in my life because I realize I'm in a perpetual pattern of pain.
Right.
And so what you're doing and why it's so courageous and it's so awesome is you're allowing yourself to heal. And then as you heal, the right love will come to you in the right way because now you've almost changed the frequency. So now the signal can get through. So this is awesome. This is a blessing.
Do you know, there's a bit of sadness in all this, Sissany.
What's the sadness?
I've found the perfect man for Tanya, but he's married.
Oh, yeah.
Well, listen, man, you deserve the success. It's such a pleasure to meet you in real life and not just on the page. And I look forward to connecting with you at some point. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much.
Devon Franklin. If we could all just have a little Devon in our lives. By the way, if you're just listening to this, you're just punching in, look him up, Devon Franklin, and just see what he's all about.